Hello, I'm Kaiser and welcome to Moose Reads. Before I get started, I want to say that the opinions that I give here are my own opinions. They are extremely subjective. If I dislike a book, it is not a reflection on the author, and it is not a reflection on people who do like it. Different people have different tastes, and that's okay. Today I will be doing my December wrap-up. I read 18 books this month, which seems a little ridiculous even knowing 5 of them were novellas. The thoughts I give will be brief and spoiler-free. If you want my in-depth thoughts for any of the books listed, there should be full reviews posted for each, either already or soon, with one exception. There should be timestamps and chapters for the description and review of each book. Sequel books may contain spoilers for previous entries. Please skip anything you don't want to hear. Let's get started. The first book I read, which is the one without its own review, is Heaven Official's Blessing, Volume 8 by Mo Xiong Tongshu. It is a queer fantasy romance. The description says, White No-Face's mask is off, and the final conflict has begun. Deep in the ancient caverns and lava flows of Mount Tonglu, Xie must face the one whose hatred has plagued him for centuries. But this time, he won't have to do it alone. His beloved Hua Cheng has spent his long existence amassing the power to protect him, and now, with their feelings for each other out in the open, they have all the more reason to fight for survival. In this thrilling conclusion to Heaven Official's Blessing, can Xie Lan and Hua Cheng triumph against an all-powerful foe? Also included in this final volume are 5 bonus tales of romance, celebration, and adventure. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. I loved this entire series, which is why there's no dedicated review. I've read every one of these as they came out, more or less in a single sitting. But they've been coming out since December 2021. Only the last 3 came out this year, and only this final volume came out after I started this channel. So I didn't want to review only the last book in the series. But since I love it, and 2 years is a rather long time to spread a series across, I plan to reread all 8 in one go, hopefully soon, and do either individual reviews or a single video reviewing each book. In the meantime, I can give my brief thoughts here. Mostly, those thoughts are that I love it. There was a small thing at the end of the story proper that I felt was kind of unnecessary and drama for drama's sake, but it was fine. I wasn't all that crazy about the bonus chapters. I liked the amnesia story best, although there were several things about it that I didn't think made all that much sense. There is no universe in which I don't wholeheartedly recommend this book to basically everyone in the broad strokes, although I can acknowledge that it probably isn't for everyone. After that, I immediately launched into reading the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. This is a sci-fi series currently containing 7 entries. The first 5 are novellas, so they're very short and easy to read. I recommend this series to everyone as well. I don't think I'm going to go through each of these. The video for them is 22 minutes long, and I really didn't have all that much to say about most of them individually. It's about a security robot that hacked his systems so he wouldn't have to follow very stupid orders, and yet still does his best to help people. He has anxiety and depression, and I love him with my entire being. Every entry in this series is 5 stars for me. There isn't one I disliked. My least favorite is probably 6, Fugitive Telemetry. My favorite is definitely 5, Network Effect. The characters are good, the plots are good, the writing is good. Read these books. Okay, the 9th book I read was The Long Way to the Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is the first book in the Wayfarer series. This is also a sci-fi novel. The description says, Rosemary Harper doesn't expect much when she joins the crew of the aging Wayfarer. While the patched-up ship has seen better days, it offers her a bed, a chance to explore the far-off corners of the galaxy, and most importantly, some distance from her past. An introspective young woman who learned early to keep to herself, she's never met anyone remotely like the ship's diverse crew, including Sissix, the exotic reptilian pilot, chatty engineers Kizzy and Jenks, who keep the ship running, and Ashby, their noble captain. Life aboard the Wayfarer is chaotic and crazy, exactly what Rosemary wants. It's also about to get extremely dangerous when the crew is offered the job of a lifetime. Tunneling wormholes through space to a distant planet is definitely lucrative and will keep them comfortable for years, but risking her life wasn't part of the plan. In the far reaches of deep space, the tiny Wayfarer crew will confront a host of unexpected mishaps and thrilling adventures that force them to depend on each other. To survive, Rosemary's got to learn how to rely on this assortment of oddballs, an experience that teaches her about love and trust, and that having a family isn't necessarily the worst thing in the universe. In my dedicated review, I said I gave this 3 stars, but thinking about it, I'm not sure why. My rating system is pretty simple, and the difference between 3 stars and 2 stars is that for 3 stars, I wouldn't choose to reread the book, but I wouldn't be unhappy if I had to for book club or something. But I would be unhappy to reread a 2-star. More simply, 2 stars are books I actively dislike, and this book fits the bill. I mean, it was fine. Mostly I liked it, but it was a character-driven novel that I felt left the characters hanging awkwardly. This would have been fine, since it's the first book in a series, but as far as I can tell, each book in the series follows a different set of characters. It's possible we find out more about the characters in this book in the other books, but I'm not going to bet on it. Because I was so dissatisfied with the way this ended, I'm not willing to read more of the series. Honestly, Chambers kind of lost my trust entirely, and I'll probably hesitate to read any of her work in the future. I wouldn't recommend this book myself, but I do know that it is fairly popular and well-liked, so maybe it's just me. Next was Kis Tell by Adib Khorram. This is a queer contemporary romance. The description says, Hunter never expected to be a boy band star, but, well, here he is. He and his band Kis Tell are on their first major tour of North America, playing arenas all over the United States and Canada, and getting covered by the gossipy press all over North America as well. Hunter is the only gay member of the band, and he just had a very painful breakup with his first boyfriend, leaked sexts, public heartbreak, and all. And now everyone expects him to play the perfect queer role model for teens. But Hunter isn't really sure what being the perfect queer kid even means. Does it mean dressing up in whatever the label tells him to wear for photo shoots and pretending never to have sex? Unfortunately, yes. Does it mean finding community among the queer kids at the meet and greets after K&T's shows? Fortunately, yes. Does it include a new relationship with Kayvon, the drummer for the opening band for K&T on tour? He hopes so. But when the label finds out about Hunter and Kayvon, it spells trouble for their relationship, for the perfect gay boy Hunter plays for the cameras, and most importantly, for Hunter himself. I gave this 2 stars. The overall tone of the book was fine, the writing was fine, the characters were mostly good, but there were just too many things that I didn't like about this book. I wasn't crazy about the romance, mainly. Hunter made a point of telling Kayvon that he wanted them to communicate because that was a large part of what screwed things up in his last relationship, but I didn't feel like they communicated well at all. I also didn't think they supported each other very well. The other thing is that I didn't think any of the resolutions were handled well. The side plot with Hunter's ex, a side plot about writing songs for their next album, and the third act twist were all solved in a way that I just didn't find satisfying. My 11th book was Changeling by Molly Harper. This is the first in the Sorcery and Society series. This is a historical fantasy novel. The description says, If 14-year-old Cassandra Reed makes it through her first day at Miss Castwell's Institute for the Magical Instruction of Young Ladies without anyone discovering her secret, maybe, just maybe, she'll let herself believe that she really does belong at Miss Castwell's. Except Cassandra Reed's real name is Sarah Smith, and up until now she lived her whole life in the Warren, serving a magical family, the Winters, as all non-magical snipes are bound by magical guardian law to do. That is, until one day Sarah accidentally levitates Mrs. Winter's favorite vase in the parlor. But snipes aren't supposed to have magical powers, and the existence of a magical snipe threatens the world order dictated during the Guardian's restoration years ago. If she wants to keep her family safe and protect her own skin, Sarah must figure out how to fit into posh Guardian society, master her newfound magical powers, and discover the truth about how an ordinary girl can become magical. I gave this 4 stars. I read this as an audiobook, which is my least favorite format, and I'd be interested to read it for myself sometime. This had an interesting setting, likable characters, and a decent plot. That being said, this features a soft magic system. It gives all the appearance of being complex, but the rules aren't very clearly outlined, and I'm fairly certain Harper is mostly making it up based on what the plot needs. This doesn't bother me, but I know some people need the rules to be explained or at least feel like they have internal logic. Then I read The Boyfriend Game by Stella Starling. This is a queer contemporary romance. The description says, Carter Olson never expected he'd get a chance to date his older brother's best friend, Rip Taylor. Wished for it? Yes. Fantasized about it? Possibly too much. But ever thought it would actually happen? Not in a million years. Since Rip is straight. But even if it's just to try and win a gay game show, having Rip for a boyfriend, even a temporary/pretend one, is still the best thing to happen to Carter in, well, ever. Especially because Rip's so good at it. Amazingly good, actually. So good that Carter starts to hope that maybe it won't have to end once the show's over. If there are 2 things Rip Taylor lives for, they're having fun and being there for his friends. So a trip to Vegas to help surprise his best friend's girlfriend with a big flashy proposal sounds awesome. And even more fun, his besties plan to try and win some prize money for the wedding by signing the 2 of them up as contestants on the Boyfriend Game. The game show is sponsored by the gay dating app Beloved, and Rip is all in. He may be straight, but he's never been narrow, and when circumstances, aka a best friend who can't hold his tequila, mean that little Carter Olson gets roped into being Rip's fake boyfriend instead, that's almost better. Because who wouldn't be able to be a convincing boyfriend to Carter? After all, Carter's hella sweet, kind of adorable actually, and really, really easy to get into character with. Winning the boyfriend game? Rip and Carter have it in the bag. I gave this 3 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I doubt I would choose to read it a second time. Mostly, this book was a light-hearted rom-com. I love fake dating, and while this mostly stepped away from the fake part very quickly, it still gave me the feelings I'm looking for from that kind of story. As for what I didn't like, Rip isn't my favorite kind of character. I felt a little let down by the game show aspect, and the 3rd act twist didn't feel all that believable. After that, I read Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the first book in the Locked Tomb series. This is a queer sci-fi novel. The description says, Brought up by unfriendly ossifying nuns, ancient retainers, and countless skeletons, Gideon is ready to abandon a life of servitude and an afterlife as a reanimated corpse. She packs up her sword, her shoes, and her dirty magazines, and prepares to launch her daring escape. But her childhood nemesis won't set her free without a service. Harrow Nona Jessimus, Reverend Daughter of the Ninth House and Bone Witch Extraordinaire, has been summoned into action. The Emperor has invited the heirs to each of his loyal houses to a deadly trial of wits and skill. If Harrow succeeds, she will become an immortal, all-powerful servant of the resurrection. But no necromancer can ascend without their cavalier. Without Gideon's sword, Harrow will fail, and the Ninth House will die. Of course, some things are better left dead. 4 stars. My feelings on this book are a little complicated, though not nearly as complicated as my feelings on the next one. At any rate, I didn't care much for the first chapter, and I thought the book as a whole was a slow starter. I didn't get invested until around chapter 11, which is like a third of the way through. If it hadn't been for my book club, I might not have pushed through far enough. All the same, once I got invested, I was really invested. Still, even after I got into it, I felt like there were a lot of descriptions of things that weren't terribly important. I hated the ending, but I did feel like it gave me fair warning. It also left me with so many questions, and I was extremely frustrated. After that, I read Fledgling by Molly Harper. This is the second book in the Sorcery and Society series. The description says, days away from completing her first year at Miss Castwell's Institute for the Magical Instruction of Young Ladies, changeling-born Sarah Smith might just get away with posing as an upper-class guardian girl named Cassandra Reed. But strange visions of a Lightborn destroyed by Miss Morton's revenant army keep Sarah from enjoying her achievement. Plus, the Mother book, Sarah's one secret advantage and the ultimate entree in Guardian society, suddenly stops revealing itself to her, putting her in a precarious position with the Guild. On top of that, her former lady's maid left Miss Castwell's, and the new hire is, well, taking some getting used to. If it weren't for her two best friends, Alicia McRae and Ivy Cowell, who will do anything to protect her secret, Sarah doesn't know if she'll make it another year. When the three girls take summer holiday with Alicia's family, chaperoned by an exacting and very disapproving Mrs. McRae, a relaxing vacation in Scotland is the last thing they'll find. Mrs. Winter is thrilled that Sarah is spending time with the influential McRae family, but Sarah can't help but feel that her real purpose is to find other changeling children like her and free them to realize their own magic. Can she find genuine satisfaction in her accomplishments when she knows there are others like her out there who need her help? Will the three girls uncover the deeply held secrets they're looking for in the mysterious mountains of Scotland? Will the Mother book finally start talking to her again? And will Sarah come to understand the importance of her connection with Ivy and Alicia and the true nature of her power before it's too late? 3 stars. I didn't like this book as much as the first one. It still had an interesting setting and strong characters, but the plot fell a little short for me. The main issue is that, despite the fact that the characters are planning to find other changeling children for most of this book, they don't seem to have much of a plan for what to do once they find them. Also, I like the romances in these books, though they are side plots, not the main plot, and Cassandra does something in this book that is both very stupid and very frustrating in regards to her fella. Still, I liked it well enough, and I will be reading the 3rd book at some point. The main delay is that I'm listening to this series with my brother, so we both have to be free before we can put it on. After that, I read Infamous Heart by Ryder O'Malley. This is the first book in the Heroes of Vanguard series. It is a queer superhero romance. The description says, one day, I was a mild-mannered designer for a premier superhero magazine. Turned down for a promotion yet again, I let loose years of repressed anger. That's how I got fired. Lesson learned. Now my career is as successful as my love life. But it's hard being upset when I storm out of the office and into the huskular man of my dreams. Sebastian is successful, confident, and the way he fills out those pants, it's basically a crime. Working as the art director for a rival magazine, I beg him to look at my portfolio. But in this city, you can't throw a rock without hitting a supervillain, and for reasons I can't fathom, this one wants me dead. They were about to ruin my date. Thankfully, Sebastian has gifts of his own. Now I'm trying to get the job of my dreams while I figure out how to be a sidekick to a superhero. Oh yeah, and not get myself killed. Must be a Tuesday. Again, 2 stars. I very seriously considered DNFing this one, which is a real shame because I own the 4th book. I got it for free. I should have liked this. I love superhero stories and I love romance, but it just didn't work for me. This was kind of an insta-love situation, which is not my favorite. And I'm pretty sure the reason they both fell so fast was to facilitate sex scenes that I didn't think were very good. I'm not the best judge there, but I generally think if I think the sex scenes are bad, you've done something wrong. And I didn't like the couple. I didn't think Griffin, the main character, was a very good boyfriend. He kept pushing Sebastian's boundaries in ways that made me uncomfortable. I'm gonna give this series another chance eventually, but I'm not in any rush, and based just on this book, I wouldn't recommend it. Next, I read Lord Brocktree by Brian Jakes. This is the 13th book released in the Redwall series, but it is the first chronologically. It is a fantasy series featuring rodents and other small animals. The description says, Salamandastron, under the guardianship of Old Lord Stonepaw, is under threat from an enemy of immense and terrifying power. Ungot Tron, the wildcat who can make the stars fall from the sky, has attacked with his blue hordes and is determined that the fortress should be his. The mountain's defenses are weak, and it seems that nothing can stand in his way. Nothing, that is, but the badger Lord Brocktree, who is drawn to Salamandastron by an undeniable sense of duty. But if he is to rescue the mountain from Tron and his verminous hordes, he must gather about him an army capable of defeating them in battle. Together with the irrepressible hare-maid Dottie and a host of brave creatures, Brocktree journeys to Salamandastron to fulfill his destiny. 3 stars. I wasn't crazy about this one. I first read a Redwall book in 5th grade and fell completely in love with it. I'm pretty sure my love has cooled since then, but I still like it well enough. I own the first 13 books in the series, and I read most of the ones I own, but not all of them, so I'm working on rereading them and then finishing the series. I'm going for chronological order with this read-through, but if you've never read any of the series, I wouldn't generally recommend doing the same. I don't think Lord Brocktree is a good entry point into the series. The other thing you need to know if you think you might want to read this series is that Jakes writes out accents. It doesn't bother me, but this is another thing I know other people sometimes find annoying. Overall, Lord Brocktree is a perfectly fine Redwall book. I'm pretty sure the reason I don't like it as much as I like most of these books is that it is primarily about the Badger Lords and the Hares. The Badger Lords are fine, but I find the Hares annoying at the best of times, and I'm pretty sure this book has one of the worst of the bunch. Then I read Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the second book in the Locked Tomb series. The description says, Harrowhark Nona Gessimus, last necromancer of the 9th house, has been drafted by her emperor to fight an unwinnable war. Side by side with a detested rival, Harrow must perfect her skills and become an angel of undeath. But her health is failing, her sword makes her nauseous, and even her mind is threatening to betray her. Sealed in the gothic gloom of the Emperor's Mithraeum with 3 unfriendly teachers, hunted by the mad ghost of a murdered planet, Harrow must confront 2 unwelcome questions. Is somebody trying to kill her? And if they succeed, would the universe be better off? I cannot express how much I hate this book. 4 stars. This is written almost entirely in second-person POV, and I cannot stand that. But I really wanted answers to the questions I was left with after Gideon the Ninth, so I pushed through. And eventually I realized why I think Muir used second person, which is to make the reader feel as off balance as Harrow is in this book. It's clever, and I'm mad about it. Anyway, I liked it, despite how much I hated it. So I started reading Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the 3rd book in the Locked Tomb series. The description says, Her city is under siege, the zombies are coming back, and all Nona wants is a birthday party. In many ways, Nona is like other people. She lives with her family, has a job at her local school, and loves walks on the beach and meeting new dogs. But Nona's not like other people. 6 months ago, she woke up in a stranger's body, and she's afraid she might have to give it back. The whole city is falling to pieces. A monstrous blue sphere hangs on the horizon, ready to tear the planet apart. Blood of Eden forces have surrounded the last cohort facility and wait for the Emperor Undying to come calling. Their leaders want Nona to be the weapon that will save them from the 9 houses. Nona would prefer to live an ordinary life with the people she loves, with Pyrrha and Camilla and Palamedes, but she also knows that nothing lasts forever. And each night, Nona dreams of a woman with a skull-painted face. I gave this 4 stars, same as the previous 2. But I wasn't as interested in it. It felt a lot like treading water rather than making progress. It did give a lot of backstory that was nice to know, although I wasn't wild about the way that backstory was presented. Certainly, I'd say this was the weakest entry into the series thus far, but I'll still be reading Alecto the Ninth once it comes out. And that's all the books I read in December. If you liked this video, I hope you'll watch more in the future. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!